Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Welcome to the jungle. We've had so much sunlight lately that all my trees in the plant room here have just been taking off in growth, and it is looking like a jungle. Over the winter, I pruned up all the tropical trees here, making them more compact. And now with all this sunny weather we've been having, they're just growing like crazy. It's becoming like really dense in here with greenery. This is my very first bonsai tree, a Ficus microcarpa that I grew from a seed. And in the winter, I had defoliated the tree, pruned it back. I root pruned it, repotted it. And I mentioned that the pot was looking kind of small. And Stephan from Germany approached me and he said, "Have you ever thought of making a 3D printed pot for the tree?" And I thought, yeah, I hadn't thought of it because it'll need to be quite a large pot and, printed in sections and then glued together and then finished. But Stephan was willing to take on the task, and I'll be meeting with Stephan later on this afternoon to discuss more details of the pot and have a look at the rendering of it and all that kind of stuff. So very exciting. The foliage is growing out on the tree really nicely, and I've kind of been managing all that foliage as it's growing in. Picking my best shoots. Any shoots that are growing really vigorously, I've been pinching them back, trying to kind of get the canopy to grow equally. And that's what you want to try and do in your bonsai, is try and get kind of equal growth all over the tree, so you don't get, one big long shoot sticking out. You want to balance the vigor in the canopy. So today, it's starting to get really dense up top, and probably in another week or so, it'll be so dense I won't be able to see any of the branch structure, and, it'll just be left to grow then for a while. So today might be my last few chances to go in and actually see all the new shoots individually, and maybe do some light pruning on it once again. Here's a close-up look at the canopy. And it's not that dense. I can still see all the individual shoots. And there's still a lot of new shoots growing in. Multiple shoots from one spot. Some of the shoots are getting really vigorous. They've got, maybe 4 to 6 leaves on them. And they can be pinched back, kind of balancing the vigor. So I think I'll do that today because I think in a few weeks this is going to be so dense that I won't be able to see the branch structure at all. There is a lot of new growth on this tree. It's just amazing. Even the little growing tips are starting to sub-branch now. I'll show you a close-up of that. Here's a growing tip here, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves on it. And there's a sub-branch growing right here at the base of that leaf. This one's just about to come out at the base of this leaf. So if I pinch the tip back, it'll develop more branching. So that'll be kind of exciting to get the canopy even denser. Over the winter, I found a free 3D model of Neytiri from the movie Avatar, and I was going to 3D print that and put it at the base of one of my ficus trees to look like the home tree in the movie Avatar. So the 3D print is done. I'll show you what the model looked like, and then we'll have a look at the 3D print. Okay, there it is. So you can see it rotating around. It's quite detailed, and I hope it, when I go to print it, it'll look really good. Yeah, so I was happy to find that free online, and it's on Thingiverse if you want to download the file. The file for it is quite large, so you need some pretty good computing power to make use of it. Originally, I was going to get the 3D model printed about the same size as this woman here. And I chose that size because I thought if I made it any smaller, I would start losing a lot of detail in the 3D print. Eric at the library told me that he'll put it all on the finest settings. And so I made it quite small. And I was really happy with the print. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, let's open up the bag. So it was printed in 3 parts. And again, it's very small, which is good. It'll make the tree look really large. Okay, so there's the parts. This is the top, right here, or the torso. Here's the legs and tail. So this will go up top like wait a minute. Like that. Like that, so that lines up. And then on this piece, there's the hand, and I think that might be the tip of the tail sticking up there. So a really good height, and the detail is incredible on it. I'll give you a close-up of the model. There's a close-up of the model, and, well, let me put the hand in there too. So there's the size of my finger. So the detail is just absolutely incredible for this size of a 3D print. I'm very, very impressed. Look at the hair. You can even see the braided hair here. See that? Now these are supports here that have to be removed. They supported the ends of the hair because otherwise they'd be floating in space. So there's some work to do, some cleanup on the model. But yeah, just absolutely incredible. I mean, I can see all the detail in the face there. Hopefully it's in focus, but yeah, all the stomach muscles there, all the details. It's just, I'm really happy. Like, just incredible. I never expected that kind of precision out of a 3D model. Like, look at the tail here. The tail is incredible, printed in 3D space there. Yeah, you can see every bit of detail on the model. And like even the hand here. See the hand? You can see all the fingers. Now, they only have 4 fingers, so there's a thumb and 3 fingers. But yeah, just incredible. That size that you can see all the detail compared to my finger. So yeah, I was just blown away. I never expected this level of detail in a 3D printed model. So amazing, just amazing. I also think it's going to be the perfect height. If you imagine Neytiri standing beside the tree here. It's just perfect for this size of a tree. It makes the tree look really giant. Yeah, so I'm really happy. I think it's going to be a great addition to my ficus home tree. I want to give Eric at the library a big thank you. 3D printing isn't easy. There's a lot of setup involved to get your flow rates right, the right diameter nozzle, the right layer heights, the right temperatures to get everything to work properly, getting all the supports in place. He did a really good job. I think, 3D printing is almost an art form. And so thanks, Eric. That was just fantastic. Like I said, it just blew me away, the detail and the incredible print I got. So thanks a lot. In the next few days, I'll be finishing the model of Neytiri, painting it all up to make it look super realistic, and then we'll try it out underneath the tree. So that'll be really exciting. There's other 3D models from Avatar available online. There's that 6-legged horse that they ride. That would look cool at the base of the tree. So you could make kind of a whole Avatar diorama underneath the, a giant ficus tree. It would look really cool. I just love that movie. It was a great movie, James Cameron. At the last meeting of the Toronto Bonsai Society, an online meeting, the guest was Matthew Quinn. He was the curator of the Montreal Botanical Gardens penjing collection. He studied in China, studying penjing and all the different styles of penjing. And he brought all his knowledge back to Canada to take care of those trees at the Montreal Botanical Gardens. And it was a really interesting talk he did. He talked for 4 hours, slideshows, talked about techniques, Chinese styles, Chinese philosophy. It was the best evening of my life, I think. So thanks, Matthew. That was just fantastic. I enjoyed every word of the whole presentation. It really opened my eyes to, that Ling Yang style of penjing, the grow and clip bonsai or clip and grow bonsai. And so my style, I guess, is a little different than traditional Chinese Ling Yang style. They grow their branches quite long and then they cut them back quite short. And then they let them grow long again and cut them back again. And they try and get, very short sections so they get really tight movement in their trees. And they let them grow long, really long, because if you let it grow long and kind of it gets a little bit woody, and then when you prune it, the new shoot comes at more of an angle than it would if you pinched a tender shoot. If you pinch a tender shoot, the shoot tends to just keep kind of growing in the same direction as the original shoot. If you cut off more of a woody shoot or branch, that new shoot that comes off of it will change direction quite dramatically. And so the Ling Yang, traditional Ling Yang, and this is an interpretation of it by a Westerner, sort of has more taper and more abrupt, tighter angles in it. It can look quite natural at times, and it depends on the species of the tree. I think my style is a little more flowing. I use those techniques, grow and clip or clip and grow techniques, and I try and get a smooth, nice flowing tree, whereas the Chinese style is more angular and more abrupt, all the angular changes. So I guess maybe it's a hybrid style, somewhere between, a natural flowing tree and that Chinese Ling Yang kind of style. So yeah, so my goal for bonsai, and I've said this before, is to create a realistic miniature looking tree. One that mimics the branch and growth patterns of its full-sized counterpart, or if there is no full-sized counterpart, if you're dealing with a plant that isn't a tree, mimicking a tree of a different species. So, for instance, my Portulacaria afra, I'm mimicking the giant baobabs in Africa. Totally different species, but they're both kind of a succulent tree. So there's some similarities, but they're very different. So I guess that's my kind of style, is to, again, it's a grow and clip or clip and grow style. And I like that technique. I think it gives you a very natural looking tree in the end. And so what I'm doing, I set up the conditions for the tree to grow. So by pruning a branch off, you're setting up the conditions for that new growth to come in. I'm not bending the new growth into a desired position that I think is the right position, but I am pruning it back, trying to encourage growth where I want it. So it's kind of, it's not natural growth on the tree. There's nothing natural about it, but I am letting the tree grow where it wants to grow. I mean, you get branches like this branch here. I did not want this branch to come off the back of the tree and kind of come out in this direction. That's just the way it grew. It used to be a branch coming out the back, but that branch kind of died off and all the vigor went on this side shoot, and I left it that way. It's not perfect. It's not how I would have envisioned the tree, but that's the way the tree grew. Some of these roots that grew down from here, it grew down the top, it wrapped around the trunk of the tree, spiraled around it to the front. If I were to make a root system, I wouldn't have roots like that on it, but that's the way the tree grew. And I set up the conditions for the tree to grow. I gave it a humid environment. I let the top grow really freely, so it encouraged all kinds of vigor, and I got all these aerial roots. But again, everything on this tree is the way the tree grew. I just set up the conditions for that growth, directional pruning, root pruning, the conditions the tree's in. So yeah, that's kind of my philosophy in bonsai, is I set up the conditions for the tree to grow in a certain way, and then I let the tree grow how it wants. And then I set up those conditions again, and then the tree grows how it wants. So yeah, so there's, I don't know, I like to say it's 50% me and 50% the tree. Maybe it's more 70% me and 30% the tree, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe 40% me and 60% of the tree. But in the end, the tree, you get the natural characteristics of the tree, in your bonsai or penjing. That's another thing, I guess. Most of my trees are probably more what I would call penjing rather than bonsai, because bonsai is kind of the traditional Japanese version of penjing, tree penjing. I like to include a bit of a landscape under my tree, sometimes rocks and elements that enhance that natural appearance of the tree. Whereas, bonsai is just the pot, moss, and the tree. There's no rocks, there's no figurines, certainly no Neytiris from Avatar, that's for sure. So I would say my trees are probably more penjing and very not traditional bonsai, that's for sure. So yeah, maybe I should have called my channel the penjing zone, or the miniature tree zone, or miniaturized nature zone, something like that. But it's probably not traditional bonsai that I'm doing. But I'll call it bonsai. I mean, everyone's heard of bonsai, no one's heard of penjing. So it'll always stay the bonsai zone. It just won't be traditional Japanese bonsai. Now, I may get some traditional Japanese bonsai. I may practice that on some trees. Diversity is always good. I have, a lot of different styles of bonsai in my collection. So maybe I need a tree that's grown in the traditional Japanese styles, wiring it, Japanese pot, no rocks, nothing, just the moss and the tree. So yeah, that'll come in the future, I guess. I'll try and expand my styles to reach out just, different styles. There's many schools of penjing even, and maybe I've got to try some different styles in that form too. So yeah, there's lots of, bonsai never ends. You start into the hobby and you can learn for the rest of your life. And the more I learn, the more you realize you don't really know about the whole subject, because it is a worldwide hobby. And there's new schools growing up everywhere. I mean, maybe someday, there'll be pockets in the United States that grow their trees a certain style. I know Florida, they have their tropical trees. They have certain species and styles that are kind of native to Florida, the buttonwoods and the ficus and that. And I mean, Taiwan, Vietnam, they have their own style of trees. India is getting a certain style. The UK, they have a certain style. They've got their hawthorns and a lot of their collected Scots pines and things. And every country has a specialty. I mean, Canada, we grow all these Thuja occidentalis or eastern white cedars, larches, and we kind of make Canadian landscapes, and that's really good. I like to see that. I like to see each country, specializing, doing their own thing, and then I think it becomes more fascinating to the rest of the world when, someone from India sees Canadian landscapes in penjing and bonsai, and they're fascinated by it because it's so different from what they do in India. And that's the joy of bonsai to me. I love seeing different styles and different people's interpretation of nature in a pot, and what the pot looks like, what the trees look like, what species of trees they're using. And yeah, so all that, all that change and different styles in bonsai really makes the hobby interesting. It doesn't matter how much you read or learn, there's always more to know. And that's exciting for me, that it's a hobby. It's like, you're trying to attain perfection in your tree, and it's an unattainable goal, but you still strive for it. There's just something in you that, I want the tree to be more perfect. I want it to look more natural. I want it to be in better proportions. I want a better pot for it. that strive for perfection is what drives a lot of people in bonsai. And it becomes, it's an awesome hobby. I really enjoy it. It sort of changed my life in a way. It gave me an appreciation for nature, living in harmony with nature, and the fragility of nature, how fragile these trees are in real life. You skip watering for 2 days in a row and your 28-year-old tree can be dead. So yeah, it's a great hobby. I encourage everyone to try it at any level. Just one tree on your windowsill, 5, 10 trees, maybe more if you really get into it. But yeah, it's a great hobby, and I urge everyone to try it. I think you'll really like it. Okay. All right, enough talking. Let's get to work today. Holy. Sometimes I watch these foreign language bonsai videos, and they're talking away, and I wonder, what are they talking about? Because I don't understand it, and they don't do any work on their trees. They just talk for the entire video, and yeah, I always wonder what they're talking about. And probably someone from a different language will watch this video, and they'll see me rant on and on about something, and they won't understand what I'm talking about and think, why doesn't he just work on his trees? So that's what I'm going to do now, work on my trees. So yeah, some of these shoots are getting long, so I'm going to do some directional pruning on them, establishing, balance figure, removing any new shoots that have come out that are just not growing in a good place. And there's plenty of those. There's a lot of shoots. There's an area in here that it had 2 shoots that I selected and kept, and now from that same spot there's another 2 shoots growing out. So I've got 4 now, so I've got to thin that out. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to video much of it because it's the same as what I've done before. Shoot selection, balancing vigor, and keeping the tree in the right proportions, nice and compact. And then that growth will be allowed to grow once again, and the process will repeat. I also did a big talk about pruning at the community gardens yesterday, and I had to talk quite loudly because there was a lot of people there, and I wanted everyone to hear. So my voice was quite hoarse. I kind of lost my voice a bit the other day, and today I'm not supposed to be talking that much. I was going to rest my voice, so I haven't done a very good job of that, have I? So I'm going to be quiet now and just work away here. Here's a look at the foliage that I took off. Not a lot, but I kind of got the tree growing in the right direction again. Removing a lot of shoots that were just not in the right spots, pruning some branches back to better shoots, removing some that just aren't growing in a good direction. So it kind of cleaned the tree up and got it ready to grow once again. Here's a look at the tree now, and it doesn't look much different, but it's got all this new growth coming in really nicely, so it doesn't look disorderly with different length branches and that. It's coming in evenly and in a good direction. So I'll spin the tree around now. So there's the front view, coming around to the right view, to there, coming around to the back view now. This is the back of the tree. To the left side, and back to the front. I'll be meeting with Stephan soon to discuss the perfect pot for my imperfect tree here. That'll be really fun. So there'll be lots of videos coming up on this process of, the concept of the pot, modeling it, 3D printing it, assembling it, painting it, and all that kind of stuff. That'll be coming up in future episodes. So that's it for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.